Welcome to Always Auburn with your host, Tyler Crane.
All right, we're back at you with Always Auburn Friday morning, and we are getting close to kickoff. One more day, folks, and it's probably going to be one of the biggest games that Auburn has walked into in a long time regarding just expectations and really feeling like, okay, this is that game. We are at a point in the season where we control our own destiny. We can really get over the hump of just the disappointment that we've been going through these past years and not living up to expectations. So this game can really put Auburn back in the media spotlight, give us that marquee victory, that marquee win that we really need just to get our full confidence back as a fan base and as a program that we are a force in the SEC, and you're going to have to deal with Auburn, and this will really solidify that statement headed into the rest of the season. So with that in mind, we're not going to get into the pregame just yet. What I want to do is I want to highlight a player who's probably going to get on the field a lot tomorrow because of the injury, the injury difficulties Auburn's dealing with in the defensive backfield in the secondary. So, you know, Champ's been out for a few weeks dealing with the thumb, and Coach Freeze does say that he's going to play, but I don't know how much that means he's going to be effective on the field. I don't know how healthy he really is. Now, we can wrap that thumb up and get him out there, but you know, we don't want him to get out there and re-injure it. And I do think Champ will try to go, and I think he'll get on the field, but I just don't know how long that's going to last. And Jay Crawford's also dealing with that knee-to-knee, our corner, and our premier corner. And that knee-to-knee injury he sustained last week against South Alabama, and he went from doubtful to play Saturday early in the week to now it's improved to he's questionable. And Coach Freeze said he is going to dress out and they're going to evaluate him, see what he looks like in warm-ups and this, that, and the third with that. But to be honest, I really just think that's just some kind of dress code talking. I don't think there's any confidence within the coaching staff and the program that Jay Crawford's going to see some action tomorrow. I just don't see it. It's too early in the season, and he's too valuable of a player to really risk that. And who knows how good he'd be tomorrow with that knee injury as well. So don't think we'll see much of Jay Crawford. But what that does is that opens up the room for Blake Woodby to really have a chance to show us why he was so highly rated coming out of high school and kind of engrave his name in that defense and really work his way into this rotation and kind of force himself onto the field. There's been a lot of talk about Woodby out of high school. He's a 4-star, 5-star, however you want to take his rating. He was a 5-star at one point, and for whatever reason, these platforms, Rivals, ESPN, 247, all these platforms that put out these star rankings on these players, it seems like when they decommit from bigger, well, I wouldn't say bigger, but more successful programs here of late, your Ohio States, your Alabamas, your LSUs, your Georgias, it seems like when they decommit from these programs, from these schools, and in essence commit to Auburn, it seems like they like to drop a star off of them, drop a rating off of them for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because the media just doesn't like Auburn. I'm not sure why they do that. If because they leave, because they decide not to go to school here and go to Auburn, that means they didn't think they were going to play as much. They're really not as good as what we thought they were when we rated them. I'm just not 100% sure of why they do that. But they did it with DeMarcus Riddick, and I feel like they did it with Blake Woodby too. He was initially committed to go to Ohio State, and he decommitted from Ohio State, committed to Auburn. He enrolled early in January, so he's been here throughout spring, and the coaches rave about him. Wesley McGriff and some of the players on the field have referred to him as a sponge. Like he soaks up everything. He wants to know everything. And doing a little research on Blake Woodby, and I look back to his high school and kind of what the coaches at his high school talked about him. He was voted as a team captain his freshman year in high school at St. Francis Academy in Baltimore, Maryland, which those of y'all who know a little bit about high school football, that is a premier program in the nation when it comes to high school football. They're up there with your Bufords and your Graysons and your IMG Academies and just all of these premier programs that are flooded throughout the United States of America. They sit up there. They put out players like Blake Corum, who we see at the Los Angeles Rams, who had a great career at Michigan, Chris Baswell, who was at the Alabama Crimson Tide and has now have been drafted to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their D1 rosters, they're littered throughout these D1 rosters. Michael Van Buren, the backup quarterback at LSU, he went there. Who else? Jamon Dumas Johnson plays linebacker at Kentucky, was originally at Georgia. Great player. I mean, and you can keep going. There's more. There's C.J. Bailey at Tennessee, defensive lineman. He's a senior. Just SEC D1 talent all over the country. You got players in the NFL. It is a great program they're running at St. Francis Academy in Baltimore, Maryland. And Blake Woodby was voted as a freshman by his teammates to be a team captain. So that speaks about his ability to just kind of fit in at a young age and embrace that leadership role. That really embodies that, in my opinion. And it's really a great sign headed forward at Auburn, just for his ability to have some early success. I do not feel like if Blake Woodby plays a significant role Saturday, I do not feel like he will be out there and make freshman mistakes. I think he talked about his best year in high school was his freshman year, and it was because he played free. It was because there wasn't a lot of expectations. He was a little fish in a big sea of a bunch of big time talent that I just mentioned, and D1 prospects all around him. So there wasn't any pressure on him. He was able to play free, and he said that was his best year in high school. He put out his best tape in high school his freshman year because of his ability to just come into the game and be himself and let the game come to him. There was no built-up pressure around expectations or rankings or anything along those lines. And I see the same situation just kind of transferring into his college career, and it can really come to a pinpoint and be kind of put on tape this week in Oklahoma at a big matchup. So I look for Blake Woodby to get a lot of playing time tomorrow against the Sooners. Number 12, you can move him around. He's very versatile in the secondary. He can play that nickel role. He can play a corner role. He can cover. He's not extremely, his size is not extremely, overwhelming. You're not going to be overwhelmed by how big he is. I think he's about 5'11", 6 foot, maybe 190 pounds, give or take. And that's just not overly big, but it's big enough. We've seen corners and nickel players that were smaller than that, but they said he brings a physicality to the game, and he's fat. He's a track and field guy. He holds Maryland high school records for the 100-yard dash. He at the St. Francis Academy Pro Day last year, he ran a 4.3940. So he's got the ability to run with all these receivers, and I look for Blake Woodby to really step into this role. I think he's going to play free tomorrow. I think that he's going to look at this as an opportunity, kind of like what I talked about at the beginning of the year with some of these defensive backs who may feel that entitlement. He's going to see this as an opportunity to say, hey, I deserve to be on the field. This is my shot, and I'm fixing to show my coaches, not only my teammates, but I'm fixing to show my coaches that I deserve to be in this rotation. And I think we're going to start seeing a lot more 12 this year on the field and making plays. So look for Blake Woodby tomorrow to make a big impact on defense. He's going to be on the field, and he's going to force his way into this rotation as a full-time player at Auburn. So you heard it here first. Blake Woodby, big things coming, man. We'll get back at you with the pregame. War Eagle.